trying to cram too much on here. We were in total compliance until we got these other.
I'm going to ask that you only speak once on a topic unless you are asked a question or clarification. All residents of NPU-F may vote on issues unless they have a financial interest in the application or motion. For example, property or business owners may not vote on their own variances, but can vote on others. If you're not an NPU resident, business owners may vote if you have met the requirements as described in our bylaws. NPU-F includes the following neighborhoods: Lindridge Martin Manor, Piedmont Heights, Morningside, Virginia Highland, Edmond Park, and the Druid Hill Streets north of North Decatur in the city of Atlanta. Finally, we are here tonight because city ordinance provides residents of Atlanta through the NPU system the opportunity to provide recommendations and comments on applications and legislative changes that impact our quality of life. It is our responsibility to tell them what we think, and when appropriate, to share the strength of that opinion through hand counts. All votes taken at NPU are only recommendations. Finally, decisions are made by city boards, city administrators, or city council, and I hope that you will take advantage of expressing your opinion there as well, either in writing, by phone, or by making a comment during public hearing opportunities. You all have the agenda available to you. Are there any additions to tonight's agenda? Are there any objections to adopting the agenda? I see no hands raised. Nobody spoke up. The agenda is adopted without objection. First item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Carol Shinara, who is our co-secretary, took the minutes last month, and those minutes were sent to those on the NPU mailing list, which includes verified members. Are there any corrections or modifications that need to be made to the December minutes? Any corrections? Is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
I make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Hey, Rich.
Aye.
Okay, just so that everyone knows where the raise your hand function is on your device, if you're in favor of the motion to adopt the minutes, please raise your hand. It's under the reactions tab at the bottom of most people's devices. Okay, I don't see the number changing. That's 11 in favor, 11 ayes.
Debbie, Stephen Ramsden.
Yeah,
The only thing mine says is recognize hand gestures. Are you showing my hand being up right now?
I will look.
Because it used to say raise hand, but now it only says recognize hand gestures.
Stephen, I'm not seeing your hand up. Is anyone else having that problem?
When you click. Okay, how about now? There it is. Never mind. I got it.
Good. Okay. That's why we do it at least once a meeting. All right.
User error.
Okay. I'm going to lower hands. I can do that, I think. Okay. Anyone opposed to adopting the minutes? I see one hand raised. Oh, nope. Everybody's hands down. 0 nays. By a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays, the minutes have been adopted. Okay, we're going to start off with reports from city departmental representatives. Let's see, I saw Major Webster. Did you want to start off? Or Major Mitchell, one or the other are here.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't.
Oh, thank you. I'm having user error here too.
You're good. So I'm texting. I just text Major Webster, so she'll get back to me in a second. You know, they had the the Georgia State Patrol officer that was shot this morning
Oh, I'm sorry.
at the Public Safety Training Center in down by Zone 6. So she's dealing with protesters right now
Oh,
with that situation. But I'll get back to you as far as if she's going to be on. First off, Happy New Year to everyone. I'll just do a brief overview of last year, just in touch on a little bit of the plans for this year. So citywide for the end of 2022, we finished even in crime compared to 2021. Zone 1 finished up 10% in crime. Zone 2 finished down 14% in crime. Zone 3 finished up 8% in crime. Zone 4 was even. Zone 5 was down 6%, and Zone 6 finished up 5%. So for the second year in a row, Zone 2 won the Crime Reduction Award for the city. We won it in 2021, and then again last year in 2022. So we're excited about winning that Crime Reduction Award for the city. The men and women of Zone 2 worked extremely hard last year. We did a lot more with a lot less. We made a lot of great arrests. We finished the year up 29% in traffic stops and up 22% in arrest. And so, I'm excited about that and happy about that as the major, considering we lost a lot of personnel to the profession, and then people went to other agencies. And so I think that the cost of living raise that we just got, the 9% that Councilman Juan and other council members worked on to get that, along with City Hall. So I think that raise, and then the pay study that we're doing currently will help with the retention of our officers. That's what we're focused on, is keeping the officers that we have here, in addition to our recruitment efforts that we're doing. We started a take-home car program, and so the officers are utilizing that, and so that's been a key as well to helping us. And then, of course, the Public Safety Training Center, which we're soon to break ground on, will also help with our recruitment and our retention efforts, because our facilities aren't the best right now. As for 2023, we want to finish the year down in crime again in Zone 2. Car break-ins are still a thorn in my side. It's about 40% of my crime right now is car break-ins, and then just vehicle-related crimes in general are about 50% of the crime in Zone 2 and throughout the city. So we're continuing to push out the Clean Car campaign, not leaving things in the vehicles, not leaving your cars running at gas stations, ATMs. We're seeing Uber drivers leaving their cars running, and that are delivering food and different items. And so stuff like that we can assist us with keeping those numbers down. And so we're going to continue to work on that. The community has been great reaching out to us, seeing if they see something, saying something about it, calling 911, our non-emergency line, in addition to 911. So all those things help contributed to our reduction in crime. As far as 212 is concerned, in the NPU-F area, narcotics is still doing investigations. We did the bust there. I told you guys about the apartment complex behind the Valero, and we made a great arrest out of there. They recovered several guns. So they're still doing some undercover operations along that corridor on 212's beat, not just that apartment complex, but other ones in the area, and gas stations. We're working with task force and DEA for those issues. And then we're still working with PAD, City Hall, and other entities for our unsheltered population along the Cheshire Bridge area corridor. An update on Allure, 2 weeks ago on the 7th, I think it was, we cited them. They were open after hours. Officers drove by, saw a bunch of cars in the parking lot. We went in there, they were open. We cited the owner for operating after hours. We shut it down. We sent that stuff to license and permits. As you guys know, they received a 30-day fine, and then they filed a a written Superior Court. And so that has not been served yet. And so the Fulton County Superior Court judge is allowing them to be open during this process. So they still have not served their suspension dates yet. It has been signed off, but they haven't served it yet. So who knows how long that process is going to take. We're going to continue to monitor it. Please tell your constituents and the citizens of NPU-F to continue to call us if they have issues regarding Allure or any other business along that area. But that's all I have for the group. My information is in the chat. So if anybody wants to talk about anything offline, just email me and we can discuss that. Anyone have any questions for me?
Stephen, this is for Zone 2. You're on mute.
Right, okay, so it looks like Major Webster and Zone 6 is busy this evening. Is it possible to get Major Mitchell to pass something on to them?
Yes, I can.
And I'll make it very brief, and I greatly appreciate
Hello,
it.
I'm on.
Oh, okay, never mind, I'll wait for you. That's Major Webster?
Yes.
Okay, well, then I'll wait for you. Disregard.
Are there any other questions for Major Mitchell? If not, I'll hand it off to Major Webster. Thank you for coming tonight.
You're welcome. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Major
Thank you.
Webster.
Good evening, everyone. Conflicting meetings tonight because of the holiday weekend. We have majorly property crime as usual in NPU-F. A lot of vehicle related crime and burglaries are kind of driving what we're seeing in Zone 6. We were able to reduce our crime in the second half of 2022, which I was excited about. I think that we're on a really good trend of keeping that going into 2023. Some of the things that we're still asking for are camera integrations, and we're getting a couple of our larger corporations to ingest their cameras into our systems. We've gotten some requests for more clarity to be posted on the FUSIS website as to what that means and what we can have access to. So we will be asking for those changes to be made on the website so that people know kind of more what they're getting into. A lot of our vehicle crimes are being committed by juveniles, and unfortunately, many times they are armed, whether that is by breaking into other vehicles and stealing firearms, or just stealing other firearms and sharing them amongst each other. And then they use those vehicles to commit other crimes. And so we've noticed that we've caught 2 juveniles this evening in Zone 6 for breaking into cars, and Zone 5 actually caught some last night as well. So we're catching them, but it's still a pervasive problem with youth crime. And then with our burglaries, a lot of what we're seeing is commercial burglaries, and it is people stealing alcohol from places like leasing offices, bars and restaurants that keep liquor bottles near windows. So we do try to encourage people who manage bars and restaurants to please lock up your liquor, or at least move them away from the windows and doors so that they're not as accessible. But I know I had at least one question, so I'll pause there.
Okay, Stephen, did you have a question for Major Webster?
I do, and thank you, Major Webster, for being on, and thank you, Councilperson Juan, for supporting the pay raise for the Atlanta Police. Future Mayor Juan, I should say. Major Webster, thanks. I live at Ponce de Leon Place and Maiden Lane, and next door to the bar Friends on Ponce, address 736 Ponce de Leon Avenue, Friends on Ponce Bar. A couple of years ago, the commander of the zone went to some great efforts with me and the 10 neighbors that I represent here to try and help with the parking and the defecating, urinating, vomiting, fighting, shots fired, fights, prostitution, and drug use that goes on constantly around this bar every night they're open. And it did help. He brought in something called the Heat Team that came in and towed a bunch of cars and made their presence known for 2 weekends in a row, and it did cut it down drastically. It is now way back above where it was. This past Friday, there were at least 50 cars parked illegally, blocking both streets, Maiden Lane and Ponce Place, including in my driveway and my yard. It's impossible to get a vehicle, emergency vehicle, through this place between midnight and 4 on Friday nights, Saturday mornings. And the crime and yelling, screaming, fighting, shooting, all the things I mentioned before are out of control again at this bar. We call every time, just like the previous guy told us, we call the 911, but you guys have more important things going on. It's usually a 60 to 90-minute response time. And then by then either the bar's closed or the people have left. Is it possible for you to try and put this corner, Ponce de Leon Place and Maiden Lane on the list for some more towing and ticketing this coming weekend or as soon as possible, and some more police presence for a little while, because they do not care a bit about the neighbors and they have destroyed the neighborhood.
Yep, we'll absolutely get more presence out there.
Thank you. Friends on Ponce, 736 Ponce de Leon Avenue. Thank you.
Got it.
Any other questions?
Yes, can I say something, please, just to add on to that really quickly?
And you are?
This is Haley Alley. I am also a resident on St. Charles Avenue, and our property backs onto that same establishment, Friends on Ponce.
Okay.
And the number of calls I have had to make, especially within the past few weekends, has just been tremendous. And it is getting really scary now because the gunshots are pretty regularly now, and it's not fireworks anymore, it's gunshots. And again, for a family living here, it's a little preposterous right now. So we will do what we can to support you guys, but we really need to have some more presence here, especially with the parking situation and the 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the morning situation from Friends Bar.
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
Kay, did you have a question?
Yeah, just real quickly, Major Mitchell mentioned that there was an officer shot this morning. Can you give us an update on his status? Is he?
Yes, so it was a Georgia State trooper that was shot while helping us defend our property over at the new training site. Fortunately, the officer is stable right now and recovering. There's a long road ahead for him, but fortunately he survived, and we had a great team of medics on scene and a great crew that helped get him the medical attention that he needed. So I appreciate you asking.
And then on a more positive note, do you have any update on the park patrol program? Do you know any more about that?
No, that is going to be a very slow process to update you on, unfortunately. I'm very excited about it. I hope that it stands up very quickly and very robust, but I don't have any news to share, and I don't anticipate having news until probably springtime.
Okay, I'll try to be patient.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. Thank you, Major Webster, for being here tonight, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Happy New
Hope
Year.
for a good year. Okay, is there anyone here from Atlanta Fire?
Hey, Captain Ronald Slatton here from Battalion 3. Fortunately, no major incidents to report. In case anyone's wondering, the area that we have around 12th Street, Peachtree Walk area, where we have had a lot of the arson fires, that has almost completely been demoed. So fortunately, we won't hopefully have any more incidents in the area. They're getting ready for new construction. We were able to use some of the buildings the last couple of shifts to do some training for some of the firefighters, different bailout techniques and ventilation and things like that. But other than that, that's really, fortunately, in the Midtown area, we've not had anything major kick off.
Well, that's good news. Any questions for the captain? We have a very shy group tonight.
That's good. I like shy.
Great, thanks for being here.
Great. Thank you, guys, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you. Code enforcement. Is anyone here from code enforcement? Alrighty. Officer Lawrence from Public Works Code Enforcement.
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, I'm filling in for Officer Francis. He's out today. I just have a couple of things to go out tonight. This week we're only on a 1-day delay for collections. So everything is 1 day behind due to the holiday. We're still on bi-weekly collection of yard trimming. We still are offering the service for bulk collection. That has to be scheduled by contacting 311. If you all have anything that you need assistance with, as it relates to education, like if your neighbors have new neighbors or any neighbors that's having issues with properly disposing of their garbage, recycling, or yard trimming, Suite is available to give education. We just ask that you all go through 311 to submit a case, and we'll have an officer out within 72 hours to assist with that. This as well as if you have anything with illegal dumping. If you have footage or anything of that sort, please feel free to give it to us. It'll help us tremendously with prosecuting these people for illegal dumping. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I put my contact information inside the chat. I'll be sure to pass any concerns over to Officer Francis, or anything that I can assist with, I'll be sure to assist with.
Thank you. Are you still picking up Christmas trees?
Yes, they're still picking up Christmas trees. So if you have them, put them out. We'll collect them and remove them during scheduled collection day. So if you still have them, just set them out.
And do they need to be cut into 4-foot?
Now, if they are, the large trees is over 6 or 7 feet, they may need to be cut down, but anything less than that, they can take them as whole.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, Officer Lawrence, thanks for being here. Is there anyone else
Thank you.
from?
Okay.
311. Johnny, I'm sorry, I missed you.
No worries. Hello, everybody. I'm Johnny Wilson, and I'm from 311. Just wanted to let everybody know that we're still here for you Monday through Friday. I've listed in the chat a plethora of ways of contacting us. We can be contacted for potholes, issues with your water accounts, and even as far as quality of life concerns. So if you see someone in your area that's suffering from mental illness or homelessness or anything along those lines, please call 311 and we'll do our very best to assist them. And I'll also place a link in the chat for you to give feedback on the entire department, even for our wait times, for our staff, just anything that you want to let us know. Any questions, any concerns for me tonight?
Any questions for 311? Okay, not see any hands going up. Thanks for being here.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. All right, last call. Is there anyone else here from the city that wants to give an update from their department? If not, we'll go to comments from elected officials. And we have at least one. Alex, Happy New Year. Glad to see you.
Happy New Year, Debbie. Happy New Year, everybody. Wanted to just quickly give you an update of what's happening at City Hall and what I'm going to be focusing on this year. First off, new year means new committee assignments. My 3 committee assignments for this year, I'm going to remain as chair of finance executive. So I get to keep a close eye on your tax dollars all year long. Second, I'm on transportation committee, which is good because transportation infrastructure is going to be one of my key focuses for this year. Looking at things that, some of the big infrastructure projects that we've been anticipating in our district for some time now. Following up in getting Cheshire Bridge, the final 2 lanes open and the bridge finished. Monroe Drive complete streets. It looks like we're finally going to start moving on that again. And then the intersections of Montgomery Ferry and Piedmont, the improvements in the redesign there, as well as the traffic circles at Pelham, Rock Springs, and Wildwood, as well as Lenox and Johnson. So just a couple of big initiatives I want to make sure we finally get off the ground. or at least get some movement on, as well as the repairs list that the neighborhoods have been compiling and submitting to us as well. Things like potholes, missing street signs, and things like that. I'm also on committee on council, which really just addresses kind of our internal council operations. Doesn't really impact the district that much, but will be good for us just to make sure we're doing everything we need to do. A couple other things that I'm going to hopefully get across the finish line this first quarter will be the alcohol code reform that we've been working on since last March. I want to thank Kay Stevenson and Jane Rawlings for participating on that. It's been a very productive and very thorough process, and we look forward to bringing forward those recommendations within the next couple of months. And I think I've mentioned this in a meeting before. I mean, we're looking at everything from the application process to the license review board, how it functions, to revocations and penalties, as well as to simple things as definitions to try and address some of the challenges that we've had. Also wanted to address 911. I appreciate the emails that I've been getting about the response times and continued problems. I know that we had authorized some money to help them upgrade their system in late November, early December. That was supposed to help with that. I'm not sure it's taking effect. So I've talked to Public Safety Chair Dustin Hillis, and we're going to lean into that a little bit and make sure that we're hopefully turning the curve on that as well. And then finally, just wanted to also acknowledge the emails we've been getting about the homeless and the housing insecure folks and the encampments through the district. Particularly concerned because the fire captain mentioned fires earlier. I mean, we've had a couple of small fire instances under some of the underpasses, but I've been really impressing upon the administration that we've had enough with fires and burned down bridges in our district for a lifetime now. And so they're helping by doing some routine sweeps through the encampments to make sure and look for cooking utensils, namely propane gas tanks. So if you see anything or smell it, some folks have said they've smelled cooking, let me know so that I can forward that on to our homeless and lift team. Yeah, that's really all I had that I wanted to share with everybody, but I'm happy to take questions or specific issues that folks want me to take back.
Holly Sassnett.
Thanks, Debbie. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Holly.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Just curious if there's any updates on the infrastructure bond money for the parks.
Yeah, so that money has been received, and we actually, gosh, we just did some legislation that most of the ones that are in our district have been kind of allocated and prioritized for year one. Right now, the big question that I'm working through is whether or not we, if the city would be willing to transfer the money over to Park Pride to let Park Pride administer it with the Friends of group versus having it tied up in our Parks Department in terms of procurement and implementation. I just think it's going to be a faster way to do it and a more just direct way of working with the Friends of groups, the parks that have money that have Friends of groups to implement. But yeah, the good news is the money is in, and now I've just got to figure out process wise how we're going to be getting those funds out to the groups for the projects.
So even with it, if Park Pride is administering the funds, will we still have to go through the Parks Department for approval of projects?
That's the question I have. I mean, if that's what I'm hoping is if I can wrestle it out of there and have Park Pride as our partner, that we would, within the Parks Department's guidelines and so long as the projects conform to that, kind of circumvent a little bit the formal approval process, review and approval process. So I'm working. That's the big question. I'm trying.
Because generally all projects have to go through parks design, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah. But some of the work is repair work. So some of the projects are for repair work. So I'm let's see if we can thread this needle a little bit, but yeah, the good news is the money is there, and then it's slated for the first year in terms of disbursement.
Okay, not to belabor this, but as an example, Morningside Nature Preserve, which is slated for 366,000. The Parks Department on the spreadsheet, the latest spreadsheet I saw had designated it for paving the parking lot, whereas really and truly the suspension bridge and
Yeah.
the walk need to be redesigned and replaced. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that that money doesn't get wasted on a paving.
Okay, thanks for that heads up. Yeah, no, I thought the understanding was that was for the bridge.
Yeah.
Not paving. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Alex? Rachel?
Hi y'all.
Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
This is my first NPU-F meeting, so I just wanted to
Welcome.
jump on. Thank you. So I wanted to jump on and just say hi. I live on Ponce Place, sort of like at St. Charles.
Mhm.
And we're not like familiar with the process and like all of the working. So this is super, super detailed and minute. And I apologize, especially if I missed anything in previous meetings, but we have some significant drainage issues in front of our house and sort of along Ponce Place. There are just a bunch, throughout Virginia Highlands, really. And I've seen crews, and I've reported them to 311, but I've seen crews like come out, spray paint on the sidewalk, and I guess like note things, but we just can't seem to get a status update on like sort of where things are. I don't know if that's like part of a bigger project, so that's why it's stalled.
Yeah, that'll work. I'm dropping my email address and phone number into the chat. If you don't mind, if you'll email me and then give me as many specifics as possible, particularly the street address. That way I'll have something that I can forward to the commissioners and then chase this down.
I appreciate that so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, y'all.
Any other questions for Alex? I'm gonna lower her hand. Okay, I don't see any other questions, Alex.
I'll keep listening and y'all can always chat or email me and call me if you need to.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other elected officials here that I might have missed? Kennedy?
Not elected. I am here on the behalf of the city of Atlanta. Is this an appropriate time that I could speak? I was at another NPU meeting. Put some info in the chat and I'm just joining.
Okay, what department are you representing?
Yes, good to meet everyone. I am in the executive office of the mayor. My name is Jody Meriday. I serve as the community engagement program director, soon to become, following the passing of legislation, the ombudsman of neighborhoods. So I will be joining you all just to touch base, locking and linking to all of the neighborhoods by way of their NPU chairs to identify and see if there are any trends that require redress or if there are any concerns that I could assist neighbors or neighborhoods with. So I just wanted to introduce myself. My apologies for joining a bit late. I was at NPU-I's meeting as well, but thank you for this opportunity. Happy New Year to everyone. And my cell number as well as my email are in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you in person.
Yes, we've spoken. Good to meet you as well.
Right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Well, I'll be on, but I'll go back. Okay.
Okay. Kennedy McClung, welcome.
So I am Chief of Staff for Representative Stacey Evans in District 57. And I don't really have any particular updates. We're just starting our 2023 legislative session. Things are kind of getting started. We're going to be dealing with the budget. We are still waiting on committee assignments. I more so just want to reintroduce myself for anyone who hasn't seen me here before. I'm Kennedy. And I want to encourage anyone to send me any thoughts, concerns, ideas, anything regarding any legislation. We want to hear from you and we want to be able to give you guys the best update we can. So just don't hesitate to contact me for anything.
Kennedy, does Stacey have any priorities for the upcoming year, or is anything she'll be working on?
Yes, we just had that big win with Hope. The fiscal note coming back at just about under 3 million. So with our lottery winnings, and our reserves and everything, it looks like that is going to happen, which is really, really exciting. So higher education has always been the cornerstone of her passion. We are also tackling a lot of, I don't know how to categorize that, but the noise decibel cameras, we're really working toward that and seeing what we can do about that. There's a lot of red tape with that bill, but we're really pushing forward on it. Other than that, we have a lot of other bills in the works that we are hoping to introduce, sponsor, work on. But yeah, if there's anything that you guys need or want to bring to our attention to put at the forefront, we definitely want to hear it.
Okay, thanks. Rich Sussman? You got a question, comment?
I appreciate us getting Representative Evans' newsletter. I'm not sure if it's every week or a couple times a
Oh,
month.
yes,
but
yes.
it's very, very informative, and I would recommend, suggest to anybody who wants to know what's in the legislature, what our representative doing, is to get on the newsletter. It's very, very informative. She is really battling for us. The Democrats are in the minority. However, I heard a good report today about the new House Speaker, Representative Burns. He's somebody who's approachable, who can, I think Representative Evans can work with on some things obviously not, but it's not like the legislature is going to be crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually really glad you brought that up. Our website is having technical difficulties at this very second with the newsletter sign up. So if you would like to join our newsletter, please email me. I'm going to drop it in the chat and I will definitely get you on that list. We're working to fix that by the end of this week. And yes, we put it out weekly. It's just a cap of whatever happened that week. And yeah, so I really appreciate you bringing that up and I'm glad that you like it.
Any other questions, comments? All righty. Well, thanks for being here, Kennedy.
Absolutely. You guys have a great night.
Thanks. All right, any other elected officials here tonight or representatives from their offices? Let's see any others. Okay, then we are going to move on to the NPU-F consent agenda. That looks like this page. It's the 2-pager document. We have a number of items on the consent agenda. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, these are items that the NPU has traditionally approved with little or no discussion. Under special events, there are 4: the Atlanta Persian Festival, which is a Class D event with 2,000 participants. It is a recurring event in Piedmont Park, April 1st and 2nd, 2023. The next event is 404 Day. This is a Class E event with 200 participants. It's also a recurring event according to their application, and this will be in Piedmont Park on April 4th, 2023. Next is the Piedmont Park Arts Festival. It's a Class E event with 1,999 participants, also an event that occurs every year. Piedmont Park in August 2023, and the recommendation for all 3 of those is support. And the last is the AIDS Walk Atlanta and Music Festival in Piedmont Park, September 23rd, 2023. They have asked to defer the application. Let me check first. Is a representative here from Atlanta Persian Festival?
Good afternoon or good night. This is Hamid Gamistani.
Great, thank you.
Festival, Persian Community Cultural Center.
Okay, just checking to make sure you're here. Randall Fox or Ricky Maybury for 404 Day. Is Randall or Ricky?
I'm here. It's not me. I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
And then you're also here for the Piedmont Park Arts Festival.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then we have two items on the for the BZA portion of our agenda. This is V22-187, 770 Ponce de Leon Terrace. The applicant seeking a variance to reduce the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet for a garage, and 2, to reduce the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 4 feet 6 inches for a single family dwelling. The VHCA, Virginia Highlands Civic Association Board, has recommended unanimous approval after conducting a site visit and neighbors being notified, and it is on the consent agenda with a recommendation of approval. The last application is V22-196. This is at 1072 or 1076, and that's the city that is indicated, that is one or the other, on Monroe Drive. And this is a deferral. Is the applicant here for V22-187?
Yeah, I'm here. And
Okay, great, Mark.
did you mention 188 also?
No, I didn't get a report back from Morningside, so we're gonna have to go through the regular process for that one.
Oh, is 187 on the consent agenda?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're good. Okay, so before we vote on the consent agenda, is there anyone here who wants to have an application removed from the consent agenda so that it can be discussed in their regular place on the agenda? Rich, I see your hand raised.
Yes.
Yeah.
V22-187, we need some additional, whether we go along with it or not, we just need some additional clarification on it. So I'd like to be placed on the regular agenda.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. Are there anyone else have anything that they would like to be taken off the agenda? Okay. Is there an applicant here who wants to have their application discussed at the meeting? Terrell, I see your name.
Yes, Paul Smith and Terrell for Park Tavern.
Okay, we're going to get to you on the regular portion of the agenda. You're not on the consent agenda because you're a gated event.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so you're good. Anybody else that wants to have their application taken off the agenda? Okay, I don't see anyone. Is there anyone here who's in opposition to any of these recommendations? Okay, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda after removing V22-187?
I move to adopt the consent agenda as modified.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Kay and Jane. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as modified? You can speak up or raise your hand, one or the other. Okay, I don't see anything. So the consent agenda, the modified consent agenda is adopted. Okay, we're going to skip down to the alcohol license applications, and then we'll go back to the special events applications. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jane. Do you want to?
Thanks, Debbie. All right, so we'll just go in the order that the cases appear or the applications appear on tonight's agenda. So first up is Johnny's Pizza. This is Johnny's is located at 1810 Cheshire Bridge Road in Morningside, Lenox Park. Daniel Daly is the agent. This application is for a change of ownership to operate as a restaurant serving and selling beer and wine for on-premise consumption. No live entertainment is planned. It is therefore exempt from distance requirements. It's zoned neighborhood commercial, has a seating capacity of 84. Parking requirement is met. It has a current alcohol license. Operating hours on the application are listed as 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Sunday, and NPU-F has not received any complaints regarding operations at this location. I saw Mr. Daly on the attendance list. Mr. Daly, if you are present and would like to add anything or make any corrections to my report, please do so.
Yes. Hello, I'm Daniel Daly. The only thing that I would change is that we're not currently selling alcohol. I went through this process in early or mid. I went through this process sometime in 2021, and in the process, my application expired. And then after the bridge burned down, I foregoed getting the license just because I wasn't sure how business was going to go. So I'm just going through that process again. And it will just be for beer only, not wine.
Okay, thank you.
Doesn't the application say wine?
I believe it did. I will follow up with APD and make sure that that gets amended before moving to LRB.
Rich?
Yes, I have a question for Daniel. Daniel, what, do you have a new name on the box for your pizzas? What does that indicate? Johnny's?
It is still Johnny's Pizza. Our national franchise is Johnny Brusco's. And from time to time, we have a box shortage and we get the national box instead of the Georgia box. So it is still Johnny's New York style pizza.
Thank you.
Of course.
That was a very important question to ask. Any other questions?
And to clarify, I misstated, the application shows beer only, so no amendment necessary. And if there are no further questions, my motion is to move forward with a recommendation to approve the application.
Second.
Okay.
I had a quick question.
Okay.
Sorry, is there any way that 84 people can fit into Johnny's Pizza?
All right, I was on mute still. Yes, it includes the patio.
Okay, thank you.
There's seating for roughly 20 outside and 64 inside.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
It is a tiny space, so I get the question.
All right, so motion's been made by Jane, seconded by Kay to recommend approval of the alcohol license for Johnny's Pizza. All those in, are there any objections to this motion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Use your raise your hand function under Reactions tab. Y'all can find it. Okay, I count 15 ayes. 16 ayes. Anyone else want to add? Okay, I'm going to lower the hands. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any nays. By a vote of 16 ayes, 0 nays, the motion carries. We'll send a recommendation of approval.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Daniel.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, next up is also an application in the next part for Daily Chew located at 2127 Liddell Drive. Julia Kessler Immerman is the agent. I did see her in attendance along with her attorney. This application is for a new business located within an existing catering business. The applicant seeks an alcohol license to operate as a restaurant to serve and sell liquor, beer, and wine for on-premise consumption. No live entertainment is planned. It is therefore exempt from distance requirements. The property is zoned industrial and has a seating capacity of 40. The location does not currently have an alcohol license and has never had an alcohol license. My research operating hours are Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And NLPA had no objections to the application. If the attorney and agent could please speak to the body. And also for, I guess, Ms. Thompson, if Mindy Thompson is here, if you could share your conversations with the planning department regarding how they are approaching the addition of a restaurant in a current catering / manufacturing use, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Certainly. Hi, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Mahoney. I'm from Sard and Leff Attorneys. Mindy Thompson could not make it tonight, so I'm here in her place. Along with me is Ms. Julia Emmerman, who will serve as agent on the alcohol license, as Ms. Rawlings pointed out. Otherwise, the report is very accurate, and we thank you, Ms. Rawlings. But I can, yes, certainly speak to, I believe you also are referencing the parking requirement with the zoning use here. So this building has historically been used in a commissary or production use, and so that's the catering business that Ms. Emmerman has been operating. And in the City of Atlanta zoning code, that is granted under the manufacturing use. And then the eating and drinking establishment, or the restaurant portion of the business, is a permitted accessory use of that building. Since it is a permitted accessory use, there is no additional parking requirement. And so parking will be determined by this commissary and production use in the zoning code. And then I can get into those numbers if you would like, but Ms. Emmerman and Daily Chew do meet those manufacturing parking requirements. But other than that, we're happy to answer any questions that y'all may have regarding this or Ms. Emmerman's business.
Elizabeth, what percentage of the building will be the manufacturing or the catering side, and what percentage is the restaurant side?
Sure. So I'll let Ms. Emmerman speak to that, but I believe it's more than 50% is the manufacturing side.
Yeah, so right now, hi everyone, I am Julia. If you haven't been to Daily Chew, we would love you to come by. We opened Daily Chew about a year ago in auxiliary to, as we've said, the catering and production side of the business. The restaurant's about 40% of our business at the moment. And it's kind of the front facing, if you've been there, it's the front facing half of the building. And then the kitchen operates primarily as the catering facility, manufacturing, and then we have a small line dedicated to serving the restaurant. But food, of course, and a full menu is served alongside what will be hopefully the alcohol piece.
Okay, any other questions? Rich.
No, obviously this is a new one on me, but if the restaurant business exceeds or becomes the predominant revenue generator at the space, does that still fit into the zoning category as a predominant manufacturing and would affect the parking, or how is that determined?
That's a great question. I really appreciate you asking that. That would have to be an ongoing, at that point, we'd have to get into more discussion with the planning and zoning and building departments regarding how they classify use of a building. But as of right now, the production use is the greater portion.
But my concern, whether it's good or it's bad, it's irrelevant, but my concern is with the restaurant becoming more popular, with alcohol sales there, tip the balance, it could, I don't know, could tip the balance towards 50+% on the restaurant side. And again, this is something the city would address, and I think this is something that may be concerned at the NPU. I don't know if there are additional locations in this NPU that might in the future meet the requirement. Nevertheless, we have to look at this particular case, but I think it's something that, based on the popularity of these types of establishments in our NPU and perhaps in other NPUs, it's something that we have to look very, very closely at, because it would seem to me you're going to get very popular. And you may want to say, we're really doing good, maybe even want to expand the restaurant in future, and the city's going to have to grapple with this.
Right. No, I think those are all definitely legitimate concerns. I will let you know, I spoke to that manufacturer or production use and the restaurant use and those parking overlaps. Additionally, we have some other conversations, just to let you know, going on with planning regarding parking requirements. There are other code sections in the code that could apply to this business regarding the age of the building. And in that case, if that's how planning decides to approach the parking situation, because the building is built prior to 1965 and this business is applying for an alcohol license, then they would be exempt from the parking requirements. A little quirk of the code. So that's a great point, and certainly something that we'll be discussing with building as we're going through this whole process.
Thank you.
Rich, I've been doing this for a long time too. It's the first time I've heard of this quirk in the system.
It's the first time I faced it. But I will say this, in terms of parking requirements and how it impacts an alcohol application, the only use that requires meeting additional parking requirements above the zoning requirements is for a nightclub. So the parking at this location, because she's seeking an application to operate as a restaurant, is really a zoning matter, not an alcohol licensing matter. And so I think a lot of your questions, Rich, are good ones. I think they're 30,000 feet questions and probably need to be looked at in ATAG in the remaining time we have at ATAG and how we want to address them. But for the purposes of tonight's application, the code is as it stands. And in terms of her meeting the requirements of the alcohol code, she does. And I would therefore make a motion to move this application forward with a recommendation of approval.
Okay, thanks, Jane. Is there a second to Jane's motion?
I'll second.
Okay, I heard two voices. I heard Kay and Rich. Okay. Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Alrighty, a motion's been made and seconded to recommend approval of the Daily Chew. All those in favor, please raise your hand. If you're voting aye, please raise your hand. I see 17 ayes and 1 thumbs up. Who's voting with a thumbs up? If you're voting thumbs up, are you really saying aye? Okay, 17 ayes. All, let me lower it. All those opposed to the motion to recommend approval, please raise your hand. I see 0 nays. By a vote of 17 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thanks for
We'd
being.
love you to come by Daily Chew. We're open every day, so we hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is 6 Feet Under. And this is a restaurant located at 1824 Cheshire Ridge Road. It's going into the former Rocks location. The applicant has requested a 1-month deferral. And so my motion is to defer this matter until our February meeting.
Is there a second to the?
Second.
Thank you, Kay. Okay, are there any objections to deferring this application at the applicant's request to the next meeting? Seeing none, the application's been deferred. And the last application
is Yakitori Kona. And I did see the agent, Ms. Nguyen, here. This is located at 1004 Virginia Avenue in the Virginia Highland neighborhood. This is the former Hot Little Biscuit location, and the agent is Christine Nguyen. This application is for a new business restaurant, which is applying for a license to serve and sell liquor, beer, and wine for on-premise consumption. The agent owner is also involved in operations at My Kitchen and MF Sushi, which are in the neighborhood, and we've received no complaints regarding operations at either location or at the current location. No live entertainment is planned, therefore it is exempt from distance requirements. The property is in neighborhood commercial, has a seating capacity of 41. The location does not currently have an alcohol license, and the published operating hours on the application are 12 noon to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday, and 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Tuesday. The NPU received this application a week prior to the meeting tonight. So Virginia Highland, it was impossible for the applicant to attend the Virginia Highland meeting, but the planning committee has received the application and reviewed it and has forwarded no objections. They've indicated they have no objections to the application. So Ms. Nguyen, if there's anything you'd like to add or anything you need to correct that I stated in my report, please do so.
So I am not a part of the MF Sushi liquor license. It's My Kitchen and Kinjo Room.
Okay, if there are no, thank you for correcting the record. And if there are no additional questions for the applicant, my motion is to move it forward with a recommendation of approval.
Second.
Okay. Are there any other questions? If not, a motion's been made and seconded to recommend approval of the alcohol license for Yakitori Kona. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, the numbers stop changing. I see 15 ayes. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, I see one hand raised. I just want to make sure that this is a vote in opposition. Annette, can you confirm that?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Did you want to state your opposition? Or any concerns that you might have?
No.
Okay. Thought I'd ask. All righty, by a vote of 15 ayes and 1 nay, the motion carries.
And Debbie, just as an update for the group, since it was brought up, several operational concerns for Friends on Ponce were discussed earlier with APD. I have been in discussions with Lieutenant Cotter at License and Permits regarding the ongoing operational issues at this location and have asked him to pursue a due cause for failure to supervise. It is beyond our authority to determine if that action is appropriate, but full disclosure, that was my request.
Great, thank you. Okay. All right, we're going to backtrack on the agenda to the special events. We have a number that we did not approve or were not on the consent agenda. The first is the Park Tavern Oyster Fest. And we actually have two, Oyster Fest and Spring Fest. They're both gated events with 1,500 participants. They're both have been recurring for as long as I can remember. One's at Park Tavern and the other one is indicated to be at Piedmont Park. Paul and Terrell.
Am I done? Am I good?
You're good. You're good.
Can I click on leave meeting?
Paul and Terrell, are you still here?
There we go. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
You would think after a year or two of Zoom, we would know how to click unmute.
All righty, do you want to tell us about your two of gated events?
Sure. These are all food festivals that we have held, all three of them, for 20 plus years. The impact on the park is nominal because we put the fencing behind the path where that runs in front of our restaurant. So it does not restrict people utilizing the path, the walk babies and such in Piedmont Park. We provide security at the street at all levels. We have porta potties to handle the additional crowd. And it is a festival that's very well established with the Midtown, and we hope to continue the 20 plus year festival that we have maintained with 0 incidents, 0 police calls, 0 anything that we are aware of that has impacted the neighborhood in a negative way. And we feel like we're a very positive impact on Midtown, creating a food festival like you find in most major cities that people really enjoy getting out and meeting friends.
Another good thing with this is that as our clientele has gotten used to, the majority of our clientele is Uber or Lyft or scooter or walk. So there's very little impact on traffic. We do have security that will man the parking, but for the most part, everybody who Ubers or Lyfts are there.
Okay, are there any questions for Terrell Henderson or Paul regarding the Oyster Festival? I'll do that one first. We need 2 separate motions. I don't see any questions. Is there a motion? This is the Oyster Fest.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to recommend support of the Park Tavern Oyster Fest. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 16 ayes. Lowering hands. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. By a vote of 16 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you.
And then the Spring Fest. This is at Piedmont Park, March 4th through 11th.
Yes, so go ahead, sorry.
Not sure why they have 2 different addresses. Everything I just explained about Oyster Fest, we have the same footprint. It is a fenced area behind the path that allows the park to continue to operate as normal. With the path that passes by the restaurant not being restricted, we block no roads. We have most people walk or use mass transit to get to us and or Uber. So open to questions, but it's very similar to the Oyster Fest, what I just explained.
And even though it shows up as two different festivals, it basically breaks up. So there's a Saturday and then a Saturday. So it's not like there is a continuous week-long event. There is just a day and then a day event, which we've always done over 20 years.
Right, so it's not a 7-day event, it's 2 one-day events
Yes.
called the same thing. Okay. Any questions? I don't see any questions. Is there a motion?
Move to support.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to recommend support of the Park Tavern Spring Fest at Park Tavern, March 4th and 11th. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Oops. Okay, I see 16 ayes. If you're opposed to recommending support, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. By a vote of 16 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you,
guys.
and anybody that'd like to be our guest, we'd love to have you.
Well, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Atlanta Dogwood Festival. Rebecca Carter-Jones.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you, Rebecca?
Really good, thank you.
I thought you had retired.
Yeah, well, I keep threatening that.
It's always good to see you. You want to tell us about the Atlanta Dogwood Festival? This is a Class A with 70,000 participants.
Kind of reverse and repeat. Just the standard updates. We're 87 years long, which is the 3rd oldest surviving arts festival in the country. So that's a nice feather in the cap for Atlanta. We are not closing down the bike lane. We listened to y'all last year, actually maybe it was year before. We did not close down the bike lane. We will not be on Oak Hill this year, as we have been in the past. We're going to probably be moving the main stage back to the Meadow. The city, after the sinkhole incident, they reinstated no use of Oak Hill. So we're making adjustments on that. We are continuing to look, even though the application says we're going until 11 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, I am specifically pushing really hard that we still shut down at 9 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, just for safety of the patrons. So kind of reverse and repeat.
Any questions for Rebecca regarding the Atlanta Dogwood Festival? This is April 14th through 16th in Piedmont Park. I don't see any questions. Okay.
Just quickly, do you have the same security that you've had in the past?
Yes, we do. We have, it's basically the same team. We have Chris Clark is leading our security. We have Pit Stop on board for all of our portalettes, and Witten's doing all of our grounds management. And as y'all well know, those are 6-figure invoices.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Is there a motion?
Move to support, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to support the Atlanta Dogwood Festival in Piedmont Park, April 14th through 16th. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 14 ayes. Clearing feedback. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any nays. By a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thanks, everybody. We will still be doing our burlesque show on Fridays, so be sure to hang out. That's kind of a an homage to Midtown, our home. And would love for y'all to come in. We have a ton of brand new artists coming in as well.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
The last application is Pure Heat Community Festival. Is Melissa Scott here or someone representing Pure Heat? I don't see her name on the. Okay, is there a motion to defer?
Motion to defer?
Second,
Okay, any objections to deferring this application to another meeting? Hearing none, the application's been deferred. All right, now we're going to move to BZA applications. The first is V22-187. This is at 770 Ponce de Leon Terrace, Northeast. The applicant seeks a variance to reduce the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet for a garage, and 2, reduce the east side setback from 4 feet to 4 feet 6 inches for a single family dwelling. Mark Arnold? Are you-
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. You want to explain your project?
Yeah. Do you want me to have a drawing and share a screen, or just talk about it?
Why don't you just talk about it
Okay.
and then Rich can ask us questions.
I'd like him to share a screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I? Okay. Now I'm nervous. I got to share a screen. You know, I'm on the spot. Give me a second to figure that out. Okay, it says it's disabled. So can you enable me to share it?
Let me see. No. Let me see if I can. Well, it says that all participants can.
Okay, now it works.
Okay, good.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Debbie, I jumped the gun and changed it for you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I'm Mark Arnold. I live at 1126 North Highland Avenue, and I'm the architect for Allison and Jamie Delmedico, who live at 770 Ponce de Leon Terrace, and I'm pretty sure they're both on the call, as is my colleague Patricia McLaren. And we spent a long time now considering renovation of their existing house, and did a pricing exercise where we priced renovation versus new construction, and the cost is very similar. And there were a few factors that made new construction, it was more sense to do that. One of the primary reasons is because the existing house is fairly wide, and it's one of the typical narrow Virginia Highland lots where it's a little bit less than 50 feet wide. So by building a newer, skinnier house, we could get a driveway to the rear of the property, and they could have vehicular access. Technically it's a non-conforming lot because it does not have 70 feet of frontage, which is what's required for R4, but it's a very large lot. It's almost, well, it's over 13,000 square feet. Anyway, there's 2 variances we're requesting, and one is the east side yard setback, reducing it from 7 to 4.5 feet, and that coincides with the existing house. So So the existing house is already at that point, and we were going to maintain that line. And then the other setback is for the accessory structure, and that's to reduce it from 7 feet to 3 feet, which is we see it done in a number of accessory structures, and that allows for a more direct access from vehicular access from a driveway into the garage. There are a number of challenges with the site. It's an extremely steep site. It changes. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's 30 feet or so topography from Ponce Terrace to the back of the lot, and there are a number of large trees on the site that we are trying to keep as much as we can. I think there's 12 trees total, including boundary trees, and I think there's one tree that already has a DDH permit that's next to the existing house. My cursor is on it. It's where the existing house has a 45-degree angle, and that has a DDH permit. And then there's a boundary tree agreement in place for the other trees along the eastern property line with the neighbors next door, so that we can protect those. And then there is a tree that is removed. It's in the buildable footprint where the carriage house is going. In terms of floor area ratio, we're under the 50% maximum. We're at 42.8% of FAR, and that's including both levels of the accessory structure and also the basement, because the basement qualifies to floor area because the lot is so steep. And then in terms of lot coverage, we're well under the 50% maximum. We're at 37.2%. Allison and Jamie have met with neighbors, or sent letters. Their house is 770, so they met with the neighbors that's front on Adair, neighbors on each side, and then neighbors across the street, 765, 771, 777, and have proof of mailing receipts for that. And that's what that is. And then the Virginia Highland Planning Committee made a site visit, and they approved it at the Planning Committee meeting and the Virginia Highland Board meeting.
Okay, Mark. Virginia Highland. What was do you want to speak about your recommendation?
Jack's having audio issues right now. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to speak or not. He did tell me that the recommendation was approval, and
Yeah, he sent me a lengthy report. Bottom line from the report is that the planning committee met with the applicant and owners, unanimously recommends approval, and the VHCA board also voted unanimously for approval to NPU-F. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, hey, Mark.
Yes.
So I first of all, thank you for pointing out that dead and dying tree. There was an X there, and we really couldn't make out what that was for, but that clarifies one issue. The 3 trees that are indicated that look like they are in the boundary it's difficult to ascertain whether the percentage of the critical root zone will be, I think, more than 20% disturbed by the by the construction or not. So what is your assessment of that?
Well,
those trees are actually, the trunks are located outside the building zone.
Right, and you can impact 20% without consequence, and then you can impact up to 30% provided provisions are made to protect the health of the tree, and that involves engaging a certified arborist and have a report done, and then they prescribe a silvicultural prescription that and that's given to the tree and throughout the process, and they monitor the health of the tree and recommend any pruning. So we haven't done that other than what I've done the math, and we're under 30% for those trees, and that's one reason for curving the driveway at the tree where my cursor is on the kind of the middle of the site on the right hand side. And we're staying off the structural root plate. That's the other thing these trees have. There's the critical root zone that you can impact, and then there's the structural root plate that you really can't touch. So the intent is to do everything we can to ensure the health of those trees. And I think there is some, we're going to have a landscape architect involved. We're going to go through the proper permitting and meet with the arborist. And it may be that we need to pull that garage up a little bit, which wouldn't impact the 3-foot request. The 3-foot request, other than providing vehicular access into the garage in the straightforward way, also keeps that structure off of the other large tree. I can't read the size, but it keeps the garage on the western side of the site, which is away from the tree that's on the eastern side. So the short answer is I like the trees, my clients like the trees, they intend to plant some new trees, and we're going to do what we can to protect the trees that are noted.
Okay. So you're saying, well, it's not a zoning matter really, but it's really a permitting matter, that the permitting process, the people in the permitting process may have to ensure that whatever's being done will fall within the requirements of saving the trees. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The arborists are very rigorous. I mean, they've become much more rigorous about protecting the trees that are in the setback. So they're going to take a long, hard look at all of those trees. The one that they, couldn't disallow without much,
right,
is the largest, the 51-inch poplar, but all the others are boundary trees or setback trees. So we have to comply with the arborist requirements on those.
Okay.
Anything else? Anyone else have a question for Mark?
I do, Debbie.
Go ahead, Holly.
Thank you. And Mark, thank you for discussing this with us.
Sure.
It really, and I appreciate the thought and the care that you're giving to these trees. Because when we look at these variance requests and there's not any kind of tree protections noted or any kind of tree treatments or prescriptions, we have concerns certainly, because certainly grading for a driveway, as you know, you're going to have to be careful because you can kill that tree just from grading. I am concerned about the neighbor's tree, actually, the 55-inch oak, which it's not delineated as far as the structural root plate or the critical root zone, but when the existing house is, I assume, demolished or excavated, that 55-inch oak is really at risk there.
Yeah, this one towards the front of the property.
Exactly, on the right corner. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's one reason for maintaining that existing line. So we shouldn't have to. We're not excavating the house greatly. We're actually working with the topography. There's elevations that show that we're taking advantage of this grade and putting the parking court at, like, this is elevation 922, and that's where the parking court is. So we're not excavating a great deal around any of these trees, and that includes the 55-inch oak,
Okay.
which, and I wish the survey, there are other issues with that tree. This, where my cursor is the neighbor's house. The proximity of that tree to that house is really tight, but it's the neighbor's tree, and it's their decision on how to address that. But again, it's close enough to the boundary where I'm sure the arborist is gonna weigh in on that tree too, and we'll make provisions as necessary. There is a little bit of leeway there, not a lot, to, if he wanted us to scoot that house a foot towards the left, we probably could, but I don't want to commit to that right now.
Without seeing demolition documents, I just didn't know how much excavation was happening. And for the members of the NPU, I don't think that people understand when they see these dimensions. I don't think they understand what they represent necessarily. Some may or may not, but just for everybody's information, these are DBH, which is the dimension at breast height. And you take that and you multiply it by the growth factor assigned to the tree species. So for instance, this 55-inch oak that we were just talking about, we don't know which species of oak. So the various oaks range anywhere from 3 to 6 with growth multipliers. So that particular oak is anywhere at the minimum 165 years or it could be 330 years old. So, we're talking about seriously historical trees here. And the same goes for, in the garage, which I know you're going to be losing that tree. That 48-inch poplar represents a 144-year-old tree. And the 51-inch poplar in the back is 153 years, so these are really significant trees. And it's so challenging because we do have an established historical neighborhood. And how do we, we want to evolve in the neighborhood, but these trees can't be replaced, certainly. So in your planning, we ask and request that you do. And I know you've said you're going to do as much as you can to protect these trees. And often, often like I said, the grading kills a lot of trees on development. So, thank you for discussing this.
Yeah, well, no, thanks for your insight. I didn't realize that formula. And I will probably end up having, I think, I'm not sure which landscape architect we're working with, but I know one person I work with likes to use Bartlett a lot to do the assessments, and they're very plugged into this. And we'll work with the city and a arborist through our landscape architect and do what we can do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if it's helpful, I can post, there's a growth factor chart by tree species.
Sure, I'd love to see that.
Okay, let me just figure out how to do that. Debbie, am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, you can post something on chat.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Virginia Highland is recommending approval. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I'll second.
Any questions about the motion? Okay, Mark, can you unshare?
Yeah.
for a few minutes? Thank you. Okay.
Well, how do I do that? So I see it. Forget it.
Zoom has just changed their application again. I'm really unclear on what they've done. Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to recommend approval of V22-187. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Debbie, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Who muted me? Oh, crap. Okay. By a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays, the motion to recommend approval carries. Next application, V22-188. This is 1357 Berwick Avenue in the Morningside neighborhood. Of the applicants requested a variance to 1, reduce the half depth front yard from 17.5 feet to 4 feet. 2, exceed the maximum total floor area allowed for accessory structures from, this is 3%, but I think it's supposed to be 30% of the main structure to 46% of the main structure. And 3, allow an accessory structure to project beyond the front of the main structure in the half depth front yard for construction of an accessory structure for an existing single family dwelling. Is Mark, this is also your application.
Yes. Should I share the screen again?
I think you may need to for this one.
Okay. Okay. So Mark Arnold, I live at 1126 North Highland Avenue, and my client is Kevin Hindler and Abby Goldsmith, who live at 1357 Berwick. And I've also been working with them a long time to figure out how we could create an accessory structure on their property. It's a pretty unique piece of property. It's also very large, over 18,000 square feet, but it's also non-conforming in that it's only 39.5 feet of frontage. The little at the bottom left of the screen, the frontage is actually what faces Berwick. So that makes it non-conforming. It's a little bungalow that has a small attic build out, and it hugs the right or east side of the property. There is an existing carport, and carport's actually generous. It's more like just a pergola that's on the right, the right end of the property, kind of where the two corners meet, and it's virtually zero lot line structure. We had looked at adding to that, but similar to the previous project, there's a lot of mature trees on the site that are very beautiful, and Abby and Kevin have nature trails through here. It's a wonderful piece of property. So and expanding that structure where you have a 0 setback and we would end up cutting into those root zones, it didn't make sense. So ultimately we were walking the site and we came upon the idea of putting the structure a separate little accessory structure fronting Wayne Avenue and tucking it into this hillside. There's the contours represent the slope, so it sloped from about 6 feet from Wayne up to their property, and this structure, which has a 514 square foot footprint, would be tucked into the hill where there's if you drive by, it's all these beautiful hardwoods and it's a really clean site, except for this little area, which is full of Carolina cherry laurel, which are not necessarily a non-native, but they're acting invasive in how they're adapting to the climate. So that's a pet project of mine at Orm Park, is trying to get Carolina cherry laurel out of it. And it's not without talking to Park Pride and Trees Atlanta first about what they would do to those trees, and they would take them out, the Carolina cherry laurel, but that's an aside. Anyway, this is tucked in the hillside, so that's 2 stories on Wayne, and it's 1 story on the interior of the lot, which makes a really nice outdoor room. And on this property, again, I've showed the critical structural root plates and critical root zones, and trying to kind of threading the needle here and trying to preserve all these trees, the 30-inch pine, the oak tree here, the poplar here, I think it's an oak here. Anyway, trying to keep all those trees intact and just take out the cherry laurel. The variances that are requested have to do with the setback, because it's a corner lot. This is a half depth front yard, so that 17.5-foot line that I'm tracing there is the setback facing Wayne. We're proposing to reduce that to 4 feet, and it's actually more like, I can't remember, I think it's 8 or 12 feet from the curb, because there's a pretty big right of way along this, and it would be in line with the stone wall at the top of the page. There's a little L shape there. That's the neighbor's stone wall, so it would be in line with that, which kind of establishes a setback along that face of the property. And then the house isn't huge, so with this accessory structure and the little 50 square foot shed and the 50 square foot shed here and the carport, which again really isn't a carport, we end up with needing a variance to increase the ratio of accessory structure to main structure. So that's the 30% to 46%. And it really wouldn't be that much, because Abby told me that this shed at the top of the page is actually they're gonna take that one out. And then the other one, which I didn't realize we needed until the planner told me, is that to allow the accessory structure to, how'd they say it, to project beyond the front of the main structure in the half depth front yard. So in other words, the front of this is supposed to be behind the house, and clearly that's hard to do if the house is hugging the right side property line. So again, Kevin and Abby have met with neighbors, and I'm looking for the map. So this is their property. So they had to meet with a lot of people and send a lot of letters, because they have 5 that front on Northview Avenue, and then beside them, actually there's 6 on here, and then there's 8 or so along Wayne opposite their property, and then across the street on Berwick. So they have met with some and sent certificate of mailing receipts for the others. And I think Rebecca can speak to the MLPA meeting.
Yeah, so MLPA did unanimously recommend approval for this application. Yeah, the house, like Mark said, the house is not excessively large. It's not a giant mansion building on a large garage. It's just, the house is not that many square feet. We thought it was a great place to put this. It is not going to be used as a rental. It is going to be for a workshop. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Thanks, Kay. Okay, are there any questions for the applicant?
So that's the cherry laurel there in that photo.
Yep.
Any questions for the applicant? Can't see any hands raised. All right, so a motion's been made and seconded to recommend approval of V22-188 at 1357 Berwick. All those in favor, please raise your hand. If you're in favor, please raise your hand. I see 10 ayes. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised, so by a vote of 10 ayes and 0 nays, the application, the motion is approved. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's the end of the applications. Next item on the agenda is the planner's report. Doug Young, do you have a report?
Good evening, Debbie. Yes, I do. Doug Young, Office of Design Interim Director, Department of City Planning. And tonight I am filling the role of NPU-F planner. So happy to do that. A couple of quick notes here. Let me bring up my email here. So for January, our NPU planners report consists of an update on the NPU University courses. There's one that was actually held last Thursday, the 12th, which was about elected officers orientation. But there's one still coming up at the very end of the month on Tuesday, the 31st, which is zoning fundamentals. That's apparently a pretty popular workshop or session. So that all information will go in the chat, and you register online. And then just a reminder that we're continuing with our Atlanta Zoning 2.0 workshops. Actually, the second of the two workshops was yesterday, but there'll be two more coming up later in the spring. You're going to go to atlzoning.com for information. I believe there'll be a posted recording of the last night's meeting as well in the near future. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight was actually it's printed on your agenda, which is on page 3 of your agenda, which is this year's 2023 Design Awards, managed by the Office of Design and the Urban Design Commission. In particular, there's the ability for the NPU to nominate a community design award for a building, public space, event, art installation, organization, et cetera, that's made your community a better place to live. And we have some examples listed there. There's also the ability to submit nominations for the awards of excellence, which are just for typically projects. And if you can get lots more details on the Design Awards website, which will also, there's an active link on the agenda there as well. So those are our announcements for this month, and happy to answer any questions about those or anything else that you have for the Department of City Planning.
Any questions?
And I'll put a link to that announcement in the chat as well as my email and phone number.
Great. There's also a link for the design awards on the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Doug? Okay. Then we'll move to neighborhood and committee reports. We're going to go down the list of neighborhoods. Lindridge Martin Manor.
Not at this time, nothing new. Thank you.
Okay, Piedmont Heights. No, anyone's here from Piedmont Heights tonight. Okay, Morningside Lenox Park. Anything going on in MLPA? Okay, Virginia Highland.
Doesn't look like anybody else is here. The only thing I'm aware of is that the Civic Association is planning a town hall meeting for the 30th, and other organizations within the neighborhood will also be there to talk about what's going on in the neighborhood and address questions and concerns. I do not have the details of the time and location, but I'm sure that will be posted on their Facebook page if you follow them there.
Okay, great, thank you. Edmund Park?
Nothing here, Debbie.
Okay. Druid Hills, Emory, CDC area? Nope. Parks, Trees and Environment, Rich?
Trees Atlanta is moving to their new headquarters. They're in the process of moving down on the southwest side of the city and should be fully engaged either February or March. I believe they'll be holding an open house. So if you are a member of Trees Atlanta or have any dealings with them, don't go down to Chester Avenue anymore. They're down, I think it's Warner Street in Southwest Atlanta.
Aren't they on the Beltline?
Very near the Beltline when it comes out of Adair Park.
Okay.
Yes, it crosses Lee Street, right in that area.
Great. Is Leah Matthews here? I think she said that she had another commitment. Okay, so no education report. Communications Committee, Andrew Mackler. No. Public safety, Kay?
Just a couple of things quickly. We had our first, what we're calling the APD State of the Zone meeting. We're going to hold these quarterly with the major and the captain. And what we're trying to accomplish is to get representatives, safety representatives from all of the neighborhoods in the zone to get together, get to know each other, share information, and interact with command staff. So we did that on the 4th. We had, I think, 17 representatives there from different neighborhoods in the zone. So it really was a great session. Most of the things that we talked about in the meeting have already been talked about in our NPU meetings. I did mention earlier the park patrol, and this is something that APD is standing up to dedicate patrol resources for the parks in the city. And they're specifically going to retired officers and bringing them back on to do this. So it's a way to address the issues that we have in the parks with drugs and violence and all kinds of issues without impacting the number of officers they have for responding to 911 calls. So that's pretty exciting. The other thing I was just going to mention, because most of the neighborhoods in our MPU have a security patrol that are member-based. Major Mitchell mentioned that APD got a 9% raise, which is wonderful. We're thrilled that we're starting to pay officers well. However, that is impacting us both for when we hold festivals and events and for our patrols when we try to hire these off-duty officers. At this point, between overtime and their increased pay, it's getting very, very expensive for all of the patrols to pay for the officers. And it's getting harder to find them because it's easier for these guys to just work an overtime shift at APD. So just something to keep in the back of your mind if you're a member of one of the patrols. I expect that all of the neighborhoods are going to have to at some point start raising their rates to maintain the level of service that we've had in the past. And that's all I had.
Okay, great, thanks, Kay. I have a report, a chair's report. First, there's no APAB report this month. They will meet on January 28th, their regular meeting. Second, Doug has already mentioned the 2023 Community Design Awards, and that information is on your consent agenda. He also mentioned the Atlanta zoning rewrite project. The second focused workshop was held last night. The primary topic was parking, and there is a survey that was you can find on the Atlanta zoning website. There's a link on the consent agenda for that. It asks questions about parking, the use of the use in the area where parking structures are built, as well as there's a third survey. They're very quick to answer. Next, the 2023 Community Impact Grant was announced in December. The max grant is $5,000 with a $1,500 bonus if an officer of the NPU attends 3 specific NPU training classes. I have sent the information out to the neighborhoods and to those organizations that may have a project that you would like to be considered for the grant. We need to vote as an NPU on the projects on February 15th. So please get project proposals. They don't have to be well built out, just a description of what you would like to do and the dollar amount associated with it so that we have something to vote on at the February, I think it's the 15th meeting. The submission for the grant is February 28th, so it's a fairly short turnaround. Next, I received today a riparian buffer encroachment application for 1326 Wayne Road in Morningside. The plans are to demolish the home and rebuild a new house in the 75-foot stream buffer. I believe that they are encroaching by 716 square feet. I've sent the application to Rebecca and Jack for their review and comment. And let's see, I have been invited to participate this weekend in a neighborhood summit sponsored by the mayor's office. They really haven't talked a whole lot about content, have no idea who's been invited. But if there's anyone in this meeting that is expecting to go, let me know and we can carpool. And then finally, NPU-F will continue to meet virtually on the first Wednesday, third Wednesday of the month. And if you haven't already, don't forget that you have to register for a new Zoom room. If you're here, you've already done that, I suppose. Is there anything else or any questions about any of the reports? We have no old business or new business tonight unless there is any issue that someone at the meeting would like to raise. Now would be the time to do it. I see no hands raised. We're at the end of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion
To adjourn. Second.
Third.
Third, okay. There are lots of people. Okay, it's 9:07 and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for y'all for coming.
Night all.
Don't forget you can save the chat by just clicking on the 3 dots at the bottom of the screen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie and Kay.
Good night, Aruna.
Good night.
Thanks, Aruna. It's good to see you.
Just us chickens.
And Jack is on the phone, but I'm
Yeah, he
going,
left the room, but he's still there. Do you want me to shut him down?
yeah, feel free. Put him in the waiting room.
There you go.
I'm still not 100% sure. Well, I don't fully agree with how the city treated the Chewy thing, but we're not going to win that battle, and I'm too tired to engage in it.
You know, I'm going to talk to Jim Martin.
Yeah.
Who likes to write resolutions for APAB. I think that is just a bizarre.
It
Yeah.
it is.
Makes no sense.
The only other time I can remember something that was split between retail and restaurant was Murphy's. And that goes back to like 1991. But additional parking was required for, they calculated X% as a retail and X% as restaurant.
Which would be a logical way to do it. But I mean, there may be something we can clean up in code and we can look at that and make that recommendation. But it feels to me more like this is a crazy interpretation more than something that's actually not writing code.
I have never heard of a commercial accessory structure. That
And to add that and not have it change any of the underlying requirements.
Right.
Especially
that to me is bizarre. Like if you want to do that, okay, but then it should impact the zoning requirements in.
Yeah.
Right. I remember there was a big fight over requiring parking for outside seating. And I think they settled on like 25% of the seats for outside seating was added on to the inside seating requirement.
This was for Murphy's or?
No, this
In
happened several, like maybe 5-10 years later.
Huh.
But that's when a lot of businesses were starting to do a lot of big outside seating patios, and they were enclosing them.
Right.
You know, which during the winter time, that's just like expanding your building.
Sure.
I guess there would be a commercial accessory structure for like storage, maybe warehousing.
Okay, yeah. Or an equipment room or a.
In which case you wouldn't need parking for a trash can.
Right.
But
it's just when the commercial accessory structure is a totally different use.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, could you conceivably have a restaurant and then add a commercial accessory structure of strip club? You know, could that be your way of, and then they would hold you to the meeting the zoning requirements of the restaurant because that was your original use, rather than, I mean, that's essentially what they've done. Is, and I don't think at this location, frankly, it's going to be that much of a problem. But I think there's a lot of potential here for this to be.
Yeah, it's the precedent. It's not business, it's the precedent.
Well, there are a lot of retail places like Cacao's, for example. Do you remember Cacao's had, you know, it was essentially retail, but they had a few chairs.
Yep, a couple of tables, and you could, you know, get a hot chocolate and a cookie or something like that. And
right. So, I mean, I could kind of see that, and businesses do that all over the place. The Tuscany food store.
Right.
Similar, it's got maybe one table.
Yep.
You know, and that makes sense. But the reason why I asked about the percentage was I was thinking that maybe they were doing exactly the same thing, you know, like 80% catering, 20%.
Yeah, like a few sandwiches at a few tables kind of thing, but.
Yeah. That is just bizarre.
I can't find anything at all in the alcohol code regulating it. I mean, just.
It's not even contemplated.
Yeah. So I don't really feel like as a matter of an alcohol license, there's any legal objection that you could present for denial.
Not for alcohol. Well, consider Savvy. Savvy's a food store, food and beer and wine store. Right. And they want to put a patio out. Does that mean that they don't need any parking for that patio?
Sort of sounds like it.
Do you think so?
I mean, if their original zoning category was manufacturing, or then yeah.
Or well, it's retail. It'll be retail.
Right.
Grocery.
So their parking would be governed by retail, and their patio would be an accessory structure, but they would still be governed by a retail use requirement.
Mhm.
I don't like it, but I mean, that's basically, as I interpret the city's approach, what they're gonna do.
Yeah, for an alcohol license,
Mhm.
sure. For zoning though, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
I mean, and I think
Nearby, but not until, how did the recording just turn back on? That's weird.